Okay, Michael, a Mercedes guy here. Hope you're doing good. Survived the Christmas holidays. We're working on a beautiful Euro wagon. Now, normally this heating system came in the 240D US cars, but Euro 300D naturally aspirated also had them. And the heater fan switch is binding. So we're going to try to lubricate it first. So what we need to do is take this panel off. So to do that, we got to pull these knobs off. I'm going to do that with some cloth and a pair of pliers to keep from damaging the knobs. There's one. You see it's a direct push on, pull off. Then these knobs simply pull off. Keep them in order so that they go back on right. Then a pair of pliers to unscrew these 3 nuts that are behind here. And emergency brake works, so we're going to get this handle out of our way. Get these turning. Okay, we got the last nut off. Those nuts are all the same. Then this bezel pulls off, and there are these. There's a cup on these that are gonna come off. All 3 of them have cups. Okay. Cup got away from me somewhere there. I'll find it later. We're going to try and squirt some lubricant in there and see if we get this to turn. So I shoved a rag in here to protect lubricant, protect the radio from the lubricant. And I shot some lubricant above and in here. But you want to do this carefully, don't be forcing stuff. And I can tell that it's the cable that's tight. And the cable runs off and over this direction, so we're going to pull off this panel and see if the door is jammed. But normally, I found it's the cable. There's a hook and an eye, and that gets jammed inside the nylon tube. So we'll get this panel off and see what we can do. Okay, here's the under dash panel, and it's much easier to show how it comes off with it out of the car. So, fortunately, these have not been broke off. That is often broke off. And it has this type of fastener. And use a Phillips screwdriver and turn it 1/4 turn, and it releases. When you put it back in, you turn it 1/4 turn, and it holds it in place. On the early cars, they have screws right here with little covers that are often gone. The later cars, instead of screws, they have hooks. Now, the tricky part in getting this out of the car, so it's in there like this, and this vent deflector jams up. It doesn't want to come out. So you have to reach in over the top like this and get that pulling like that and get it bent like that. Then you can pull the panel out. And you want to do that carefully because this is just stapled on. And you don't want to break those staples. But if you do, you can use sheet metal screws. So we've got this panel out now. I'm going to check the flap. This is going to be a video on how to pull out one of these old style Beckers. The new ones are a totally different method. So again, I'm going to use pliers open all the way, a protective cloth. Let's see if I can, even with them open all the way. Well, maybe I can get behind here. We got to pull these knobs off. Well, okay, so I'm not able to actually grab those that easy. So I'm going to use something to protect that face plate and just sneak in here. There we go. So that's a pull off, push on. Now this other one is a little bit harder to do this method because it has this rotating switch behind, but still there we go. Both of them came off. Then this faceplate comes off. Let's see if there's a nut on there. Not sure. Oh no. There we go. Then use a flat screwdriver to release these lock plates. They're the same for each side. Come on, baby. Okay. Then we got it. Now that's the broken piece from somebody doing this process before and JB welding it back together. This plastic face, what seems like some kind of plate, is not removable. It's riveted to the heater box. This has the plastic intact, so we're going to need to pull out the console. And I'm going to need a 10mm for that ground wire. There's our antennae. And somebody has used crimp connectors here, but they're still come apart. So I'll get that bolt out and we'll have the radio free, which you want to do. You don't want to pull out the radio with the console or you'll break stuff. Okay, we got a little noise there from a car cover, plastic. We got our radio out. Now this panel, fortunately this is the type that does not have the switch here, which requires taking off a nut similar to the ones here. So we just carefully sneak in here and get that loose. Now this is a tricky part because we want to pop these switches out so that we can take the wires off the back. You want to do this very carefully. Okay, so we've got good success so far. This is your volume control. Oh no, this is actually the Euro headlight leveling control. So we're going to mark one of these hoses. I don't think it matters, but we're going to mark the bottom one. Actually, the plastic tubes are the same color code, so but it's a good idea to mark stuff when there's a possibility of two choices. This is our fiber optic illuminator. So I got a tray here for parts. Then we've got our window heater. Come on. Just getting the bottom clip is not enough. You got to do the top of it as well. I'm going to get a little hooked wire. Okay, I make my own little hooks at this piece of gas welding rod, and I beat it flat on the anvil, and then you got to be very careful bending this because it's brittle. If I bend it more than that, it would break off. So now I've got a little tool. To go in there. And take the coupler off. You don't want to force these things or you can break them. We're going to disconnect the battery cable just to be sure here. Okay, we got the negative cable off of the battery. You always want, that's the one you want to pull off, not the positive. The reason being, if you bump your wrench against something out there when you got it on the positive, you can have a rude awakening. Okay, we got that one. And I'm going to put them in order here just for the heck of it. I can't pull that panel off yet. Well, and you just continue down this method. Okay, to our last one here. And each one of these connectors is different. And you kind of want to keep them in order just to make life easier. And so for reassembly. So now, now we can get that panel out. Before we could not, without taking those connectors off. Okay, now we have radio pigtails, and then we want to release this panel. Now, about 90% of the time, people have pried it up and broken off the little pin. I think this one has not been damaged, so we will get her ashtray. Come on. Out of here. Which also is not as easy as you'd think. A lot of models it just pops out of there, but I see a wire has been this has been disconnected, so that wire is stopping me. Maybe I can still get it out. Does not want to come out. This, what do we got here? Oh, it's a telephone charger. Or a hookup for superphone. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna snap that back on. Oh, it's already snapped back on. Okay. Then we want to pull out these two screws back here so that we can pull out the ashtray housing, which will release this panel. And this is the same procedure when you have the wood panel as well. And we want to keep track of that little baby so we can put it back for our customer. I've got one of these screws, and one of them is right there. Keep track of those babies. And then we have our coupler for the cigarette lighter. Okay. Now, this panel, what you need to do, carefully get it up, like so, and then you push it rearwards and see if it's going to go. We may have to pull these switches out as well. Again, always careful so you don't break stuff. Now, maybe we'll go at it this other way. The pin is still in place. Okay, so next step is to pull this piece of carpet out of here. And get this wiggled back. Well, these two switches are stopping. There's a little vertical panel in there. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull the pigtails off and get those switches out of the way. Oh, I was able to push on the pin. Okay, now we'll flip this over and you can see what that pin is like. And you can see there's a little plastic pin. So, next step is to pull off these connectors. Pop that little panel back in place. Carefully. This is the balance volume control. And then we got our switch for the right mirror and our emergency. Now, on these rocker type emergency switches, when your turn signals quit working, it's going to be this relay right here, and I have a video on replacing that. So now we can attack the 3 screws that hold the console in. And there's one right back here. And then, I'll pull that out all the way in just a moment. There's one right here, and you can't see it because it's kind of hidden under the carpeting. But it's right in here. I'm going to have to get over on that side, I think, to really... Oh, there it is, right there. And there's one in the same place on the other side. They're Phillips screws. And if they're kind of rusted in, what you want to do is take a little Phillips driver and a pair of pliers and beat on it with the hammer. And that will shake it loose. So we have to take off this under dash panel, which fastener like so, and the 3 screws under these covers. So it's just like the other side, and we need to get it out of here because this little air deflector will be in our way. Okay, we're still working on getting this console out, and you have to pull both front floor mats, carpets, and then you need to pull this carpet right here, and to do that it requires releasing both of these seat belt lock bars. So you pop off that little cover, and there's it's supposed to be a 10mm bolt. Let's see if it's still a 10. Yep. And you do that to both sides. And here's my trusty impact wrench here. Make life easy. And if you don't have an impact wrench this big, at least buy a Makita, the smaller type, but still you want to get the 1/2-inch drive. Has more power than the 3/8 drive. Okay, we'll do the other side and then we'll go on to the next step. Alrighty, now this carpet that's behind here, you don't have to completely remove it. You just have to pull it up in order to get this lip freed up. Okay. Our carpet has come loose over here. It's held on with clips. It's come loose on both sides. Oh well, I usually try and pull it out with the carpet. And we got our hook up to our fancy phone. I still use an old flip phone because it'll fit in my pocket. I'm going to attempt this without pulling the this console all the way out. Let's see if I can. Because this harnesses are kind of slowing me up. Alright. Come on out of there. There we go. I'm going to pull this bulb out before I break it. And then the switch goes out the bottom. I'm going to get a screwdriver here. Push that downwards. Okay, trying to get that out of there without this out of the way is a little bit hard to do. So we're going to get that out of our way. And we haven't broken anything. You always want to be patient. You don't want to force stuff. You want to be patient. Now, by the way, this relay for the turn signal, I see that it's come part way out. So I'm going to push that back in. Okay, now our switch here, and I see why it doesn't want to come out. We got to take this one out of the way first. And again, let's get the bulb out of there. There we go. And there's our culprit. Finally. Oh, come on. There we go. And this has a little nylon hook. You don't want to break that thing. There we go. Yeah. And I can tell something's jammed up in there. And part of the problem is that hook has started to straighten out. So let's just see if this turns now. Ah, no, that sucker does not turn. Yeah, this has gone bad. Now there's two styles. There's the one with the cable off the front and one with the cable off the back. So if you're buying one of these, be sure to get the same that you have. Now let's just check this operation. Oh man, that is so hard to push. And that's why that hook is straightened out. So we're going to have to find out what's going on with this cable as well. So that's why this system failed. This got tight somehow, either in the flap or internally. Straightened this hook out, which jammed this, and then trying to turn it broke something inside the switch.